Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Roach Wiggle, March 7th, 2024. What do I even say this week? Here's a mess. I'm a bit of a wreck, not a wreck, bit of a mess today. Um, Everybody, we got LC's here, Bahitch Tennyson, Allen, Exotic Wilderness. I had a busy week. Most of the auction orders went out this week, and a bunch of other regular orders. And hello, Steven. Hello, Zen Monkey. Hello, everybody. I have an expo this weekend. I don't know how time is passing this fast. I can't believe it's already a month in the future, and winter's gone. It just like that, just gone. Um, so, oh man. So, what has even happened since last week? What did I do this weekend? I went to help Angela with some stuff on Sunday, I think. Will came over and worked on Friday. Got a lot of stuff done. Been mostly going through today's been isopod husbandry. That's been something. And the big thing for today, hey Anthony, the big thing for today is I got to get the dates for the auction figured out. So I gotta let's see what days Angela's going to be out of town in April 13th through the 27th. So it means I'm not going to have somebody to take care of me while I'm dying in the auction. So I guess I should probably get a poll going right away and just leave it up for a bit for what dates would you prefer the spring Bugapalooza auction. So we're going to do. She's going to be gone for quite a while. 13th through the 27th. Well, we can't do it the second weekend in April because that's the expo here, but we could do it the first weekend since I'm not going to Florida anymore. My car is going to be gone next week, I think. So that's April 5th through 7th, I think, is the first weekend in April, 5th through 7th. And then the 19th through the 21st. I don't want to make it any. I don't want to really make it any later than that because 19th through the 21st. Don't want to really make it any later than that because then we kind of get into. It just feels like it would be too close to the inevitable fall auction. Even a couple of weeks makes a difference. It takes me about 4 to 8 weeks to get all the stuff from the auction even out. So, Alan, the car update is yes. Ford is paying for the fix, but I have to get the car there, and it's going to be gone for an indeterminate amount of time. Who else has popped up? Tennyson says, my dad says, do it on 420. It seems like that's a very real possibility. Hello, Braden. First weekend, says Stephen Logan. Joseph Tavir. Again, I still don't know how to say your name exactly. Are there more? I can't read. All right. Well, we'll leave it between these two weekends. So, and this will be, we will get this finalized today because I got to start doing promotional material. And this only leaves me with a month to promote, which is unfortunate, but things are just moving fast, everybody. I was also debating, there are some, what do they call those, IBC totes that I want to buy for, I got to put my pond fish into something before I move. And I've got some plans I'm going to need them for some fish and bug stuff eventually. And so I'm just kind of like eyeballing where I can get a good number of them, all the same like model batch of just used for just containing water, IBC totes. And I was debating whether or not to do a quick fundraiser with some groups of stuff in the auction thing tonight to get some funds from that. So it's kind of difficult. They're a little bit pricey locally. They're like $100 each for just the water containing ones. And I'm debating getting between 6 and 8 of them. Teveri. Okay, Tevir. If you could phonetically write it out, Joseph, I will do my best to remember it. Or I will remember it because I'll have learned how to say it. Tennyson says, "To the Phyllis seem to be recovering some, still getting new nymphs, and the old ones are growing. Dry periods really seem to work." Yeah, the Pseudophilus chiricahua do seem to respond well to a little bit of drying out and then re-wetting. And I really wish I had taken the cover off of them over the summer and also cut their numbers down a bit too. But at the same time, that's why I have lovely people like you, Tennyson, who kept them going. So let me see if there was what all has come in this week. I finally restocked mantids, but the site's still not getting updates. We got a severe with a T. Okay, Tavir. All right, I remember that now. Tavir. Some mantids are restocked. I got some fun stuff in this week. Alan sent me some stuff, some new stuff and some not so new stuff. Some Morava, Polkella, another one of two Morava earwigs that I am working with. Alan was kind enough to fist some groundwater holes at that place that's getting slowly demolished, the new park in Montgomery, Alabama. There was rain, so the groundwater forces stuff that's underground up into like little surface water pockets. And one thing that I really liked, I fell in love with, was the groundwater amphipods. I didn't do well with them the first time. I think it's my water wasn't didn't have enough dissolved nutrients in it. So I'm trying again. Angela's actually bringing me like a 5-gallon bucket of the well water from her place. I'm going to put them in that and keep them dark and a little bit of water flow, but really hoping to keep those going because they could be undescribed. There's so many described groundwater amphipods. It's like every hole has a different species basically. So we'll hopefully get those going and keep them in captivity forever. So stuff like that. I have another contact who sent a very, very powerful smaller box. Contained a potential Ischnoptera species from Panama, about an inch long, and make it, I think, the largest Ischnoptera in culture, even bigger than Derapeltiformis. Dermestes caninus from southern Texas. Hopefully will not need a diapause like a lot of the temperate ones do. Tulpinus and Lardarius, in my experience, both need diapause for getting adults to start laying again, but also to get their larvae to pupate. And so other than that, I've just had Dermestes ater and Dermestes maculatus going here year round. And I've always been kind of satisfied with only those two. So it's nice to have another one. He didn't send many of them, but I don't think it'll be too difficult to get large numbers. And usually with Dermestes, you see results very quickly with Dermestes when you have good adults. And last thing in that box was, I don't remember this from memory, Gibium. This is an atrocious Latin name. This is one of the few cases where I would say use the common name. Maybe this is the only case because the spelling on this Latin name is ridiculous. The number of vowels in weird places that are just completely unintuitive at all. It is Gibium equinoctiale. It's the smooth spider beetle. So I was sent a culture of those, and likely some will go up on the spring auction. So real grain pest hours is getting even better, everybody. Ellen sent me some. I lost them. I think they got too dry. I don't think that's going to happen again with the new setups. Rhizopertha dominica again. Alan, I didn't know you had Gibium. But anyways, so we're going to have lots of fun grain pests. I have those, the ones from New Mexico as well. Now I really want Mesium americanum. Be really cool. Mesium americanum would be really cool. So was there another grain pest that I recently grabbed on my own? Oh, identification on some grain pests. My Rhizophilus are not a common one. Clericum, maybe, instead of Surinamensis. So now I actually have to go out looking for more Rhizophilus. Somebody's asking the real question of when's the new website going to be up. Mr. Sniper has been hard at work, and I believe I can't remember what the text said. I could pull it up, but there is going to be a working framework for me to toy around with very soon. And actually, from basically the days I was supposed to be gone on the trip, the 21st through the 31st or whatever, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get all my flavor text written up, and I'm going to get all the pages finalized. And hopefully photos will be somewhere in that too. But it's seeming very likely that by May at the latest, we'll have a working new website up. So LCS, what temperature do Paranophyta formosana breed at? Mid 70s. Low 80s is good. Low 80s is ideal for a lot of different roaches. Exotic Wilderness says, Kyle, next time I buy from you, I'm going to need to see your grain pest availability list. Pretty much everything is available. I think the only thing that I lost in recent times was those Rhizopertha. Now I have them again. So what else? Something else that was weird. No, I don't think there's anything else that I've lost. What's going on here? I added some new things to here somewhere. Stick bugs are all doing fine. A lot of basement bugs are doing fine. A lot of my ice pods are doing fine. I think the air humidity bump from spring is going to really be beneficial to a lot of them. Said Monkey, oh, you wanted a working new website. Indigoth, you are definitely new. Welcome. Since I'm here, I'll just ask something of getting some more MHC, and I'm wondering what is a great MHC. MHC, I've never heard that before. Let me know what that is. Was a great isopod species to keep with them. Same about what plants are great with MHC. Madagascar hissing cockroach. Which species of hissing cockroach, Indigoth? Exotic Wilderness says Rhizopertha dominica is on my list, but I can't find them anywhere else. Well, thanks to Alan, there will be plenty to go around in a short amount of time. Exotic Wilderness asking if you put rice and oats in your garage, if it would attract any grain pests. In Michigan, in like the suburbs of most parts of Michigan, you have a much higher chance of attracting rodents than attracting grain pests, unfortunately. If it was like an older house or older garage, you could probably bring some things up. There might be silverfish and whatnot. Some eggs. How long do you think Parkablata will live without a diapause? The new website will bring everybody up to speed on my thoughts on Parkablata and diapause now, but it is now my professional opinion that most species of Parkablata don't require a diapause, with the exceptions being, and we'll see how this proves out this year, Northern Virginica. You might get more consistency out of it. Wow, my hair's getting long again. You might get more consistency out of Virginica, Northern Virginica, giving them a diapause. And definitely the species that's called Pennsylvanica, that's from like Kentucky north to Canada, east to like Maine, and then west to like Oklahoma. Or not, maybe not even, they might be different from that, but the larger Northern Pennsylvanica, which there's evidence building it's a different species from the Southern Pennsylvanica, but those I've never had success with unless I gave them a diapause. So, but Latta, Zebra, Fulvescens, Deserti, Caudali, Notha. How do I say Divisa? If I didn't say Divisa, and Uleriana, I've all kept good colonies going without diapause. There is some seasonality to when adults pop up. Again, it's usually in the spring or summer. And I'm really shifting more to thinking it's due to air humidity. I've had hit or miss success with Caudali in the past, and then I was about to lose my colony of the Torreya State Park ones, and I threw them into a deli cup with like no ventilation. I thought like, okay, maybe this, or like one little pinhole of ventilation. I thought, okay, this is this is my last chance at saving these if I'm screwing up Caudali. And they ended up rebounding and doing extremely well. So like species like Parkablata caudali are just extremely sensitive to dryness. They really want to be really humid. Their wild habitats, like it's tree cavities in living trees, so there's usually some sap, some wounds in there. It's not a dry environment by any measure. Alan asks, what would be a fair price for Rhiza Pertha? Probably the same as my Cytophilus cultures, like a container of infested rice, like a 32-ounce container, plus, a little over half filled with rice. I think I asked $30 or something like that on Roach Crossing, although prices are going to be changing for the new website release. Favoring higher quantities of stuff, just higher quantities of stuff. So there's going to be more dramatic price discounts from the individual price for starter colonies of things. Indigo thinks might just be Gronfidorina, Portentosa, or maybe hybrids if the stock was unlabeled. So a lot of isopods do well with them. I have Armadillidium vulgare, Armadillidium nasatum, Armadillo officinalis, Porcelios, just most every isopod, and it really depends on how you're keeping the hissers as well. If you have a drier setup or a more humid setup or what have you. Can you tell the difference between Virginica and Uleriana from the naked eye? Uleriana are like usually a not what am I looking to say here? 1.5 times or 1.5 times the size of Virginica, and then the males have different structures under their wings. The females are Uleriana are just kind of giant, usually darker. Virginica is the second smallest Parkablata. In my head, I'm going through all of them. Yeah, Virginicas, some zebra can be kind of small, but Virginica is usually on the even smaller side, so it might be the second smallest ish. Pennsylvanica has yellow-white edges on the pronotum. Yeah, Pennsylvanica and Virginica are kind of the most common the more north you go, and Uleriana's in there too, a little bit. Yeah, Latta's the largest, tied-ish with this northern Pennsylvanica that might be split as its own species because the southern ones are much smaller and darker. LC says, I took all the cocoa fiber out of my Paranophyta formosana, put in Ross bark and some moss bark, Ross from Friends bark, and put some of Josh's Frog's Bioactimus. You think I should add anything else? Maybe a little bit of wood, maybe some mulch or other material. I think all the pictures I've seen of Paranophyta formosana was like under bark and under logs. I think the only Parkablad in Indiana are Virginica and Pennsylvanica, says some eggs. Maybe Alariana, don't know about Michigan. Yeah, Indiana, you probably also get a mix of some other ones. I'm always surprised at how far the range for like Booleana and Zebra extend to places. They're probably very localized where they do occur. Oh. Interesting because in Alabama, it's all the Parkablad are pretty segregated in the places you find them. I don't really remember finding fulvescens. Where do you even find fulvescens in Alabama? Alan or Satchel, if you're here, I don't I don't actually remember really finding them anywhere. In Florida, where did we find them in Florida? It was in Lake Placid. They were in like open sand scrub. Yeah, Pseudomops is moving northwards. Some eggs. It's pretty rapidly. I think there were some reports from Kentucky. Reptibark. Yeah, I don't like Reptibark for anything. Reptibark is fur bark, and a lot of bugs do not like fresh fur bark. It has a lot of volatile compounds that irritate them. So I always recommend against using products that have Reptibark in them. If it's really well aged, that's fine. But like Alan, what habitats are fulvescens in Alabama? Because I don't remember coming across them on any of our outings. Fur bark is probably safe for reptiles, though, right? Yeah, with good ventilation. It's I personally don't think it's as big of an issue for larger organisms with good ventilation as it is for tiny things that are going to be like in and amongst it. At least once it sits on the shelf for a while. Usually, sandy pine scrub habitat, Alan says, is fulvescens habitat, which is pretty similar to the scrubby habitat you find them in Florida and other places. And also is good evidence for them being a sister species to Deserti. It's kind of like they're found in the eastern habitat equivalents of the sort of scrubby places you find Deserti. Unfortunately, the sandy scrub habitat is rare until you hit South Alabama. Alan always knows a spot. He once found a spot to collect penguins in western Pennsylvania. It was a zoo, but still. Somebody says, I've used Reptibark for some roaches after it was in my snake cage for a while and dried out. Yeah, it's like the pine situation too, where people are very paranoid about pine. I was in this camp as well. Fresh pine is awful for a lot of bugs. Do not use fresh pine for bugs. But once it's broken down, it's wonderful. It's most of my compost pile is the pine shavings that I use for my rodents, and it's just it's a mix of rodent urine and feces and the pine flakes, and it breaks down. It becomes this heavenly substrate that pretty much everything loves. Um, and if you look at in the wild, pine, a dead rotten pine is just a great place to look for bugs. There's usually all kinds of stuff under the bark. Oh, I didn't close out my Discord. I got to do that. So yeah, I don't fear those things. Use pine shavings for rodents. Yes, I do unabashedly as well. I keep things at pretty low densities, and I swap them out once a week, and I've never had any issues. I actually, I do have a selfish angle to using the pine. Is not that it's necessarily cheaper than aspen, but rodent secretions on aspen is one of the most disgusting smells to me. Like I just don't want to work with it, and it always they aspen seems to compress down a lot more readily than pine does. Kyle, do you breed rodents that could be used as pets? I have a couple lines of mice that I'm working with. I just got hairless a couple weeks ago. My main mouse project was the agouti wild, the white bellies. I actually, I know I've gone on this tangent once before. I bred uh, another rodent person gave me some field mice they caught in their barn in the U.S. The the common pet mouse, etc. stock of house mice in the U.S. do not have this allele, and the only way you can get it is by breeding it in from wild mice. And so that's what I did. I bred wild mice to domestic mice, and I've been selecting for just agouti individuals with this white belly allele. And so I've been doing that, and I've then I crossed those to like some show mice with the longer tails and the bigger ears, and so that's just kind of what I've been doing with mice. And I do want to make some nice Angora mice out of these lines, so just a brown Angora mouse, just kind of getting it reduced down to one single trait that I really want. Sorry, house mice. They were wild house mice, not field mice. I know that there's some wild species of mice called field mice, but they were wild house mice in a barn. They were just wild individuals. Pine bark makes the rodents taste better too. I cannot quite cannot say if that statement has some credence, and I don't want to give it any credence yet. But I have those, and then I have 4 lines of soft furs that I have been working with. That just a solid agoutis, just a solid brown with no white markings, no nothing. Cinnamons, which are just light brown, no markings, no nothing. The cinnamons are proven out 100%. The agoutis I'm still working on because cinnamons still pop up because it's recessive. So it's just a matter of just doing a good cull and just always removing that trait, and eventually it will disappear eventually. But then I have red-eyed whites or pink-eyed whites, one of the eyed whites, and still throw some black-eyed whites in there with trying to get those down to as little pattern as possible. And then some platinums, which I'm breeding to have just black ears and black scrotums to make them easier to sex. And that's been going pretty well too. The getting a consistent amount of black on the ears has been a problem. The black scrotum proved out pretty quickly. Elsie says, "Do you think Paranophyta formosana would like peat moss?" I'm not a big fan of using peat moss for stuff. Definitely, I would use coconut fiber over peat moss in this application, and I would use some more woody products over coconut fiber in this application. Although coconut fiber is fine, it works great as a base layer for a lot of other stuff, especially for humidity retention. Uh, some egg seems to have answered the question. Once you have a good enough colony going of most bugs, but especially roaches, you kind of can't screw it up unless they get too crowded and you don't feed or something like that. They hit a point. A lot of them hit this point where you can just maintain them at this high production, higher density. Um, it is a little bit more of a day in day out balancing act with that. Again, you don't want them to run out of food because if they crash, they could crash really hard and irreparably. Excuse me, everybody. So we've got a lot of people. Let's see how many votes. 22 votes, and we've got more people voting for a later April auction. And again, I kind of like the idea of putting it off as long as possible. It gives me more time to get ready for it. But I wouldn't mind doing it the first weekend. So yeah, I guess I'll let the poll churn a little bit more, And I'll do. I'm going to log into Discord. I'm going to do just. I'm going to link the live stream there, and I'm going to, unless somebody else has done it for me, which is very likely. If so, thank you. And I'm going to tag everyone so that other people can come in and vote, because I would like to get a solid date today. And let's see, I'm doing everyone. Please vote for your preferred April Bugapalooza auction dates in the live stream right now. Gotta get the link to this. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a good. Oh, my voice. Good consensus. Put it there. Put it in general too. Just to be extra annoying. All right, there we go. Again, we want as much engagement here as possible. 10 to 12 on the votes so far. Let's see. Some egg says, my Darapel has had so many babies and all the adults die, so now I have a critter keep of about 300 third and star nymphs. Like the vids. Oh, thank you for saying that, Alan. Like the vid. Thank you. Some eggs, that's kind of how Darapeltas do, although my basement colony, I've had some quite old adults hanging out and presumably still reproducing. It's funny because I have like a 10-gallon tank downstairs because it's like I never want to lose Polino Eye again. And so I like went all out with the enclosure, full 10-gallon, all this stuff, and I keep an eye on them. But then I have just this medium-sized faunarium in here where I also had a colony that I just wanted to keep going. And I think the population numbers are very similar, or definitely biased towards being much denser in the one that's in here, but they're doing phenomenal. So Behitchager says it'll be great to have larger counts available on your site. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, it's again, I'm shifting more towards I've always been very buy a colony for a lot of things, because it's mostly right now, it's not even about selling bugs with that sort of thing. I do want to encourage people to keep pet bugs, but the problem I'm running into until I have an employee, full-time employee, is I don't have time to pack everything up, and it takes roughly the same amount of time to pack one roach into one order box as it does to pack 50. So it's got to really be worth my time right now to pack just one roach or a couple of roaches into a box. So I problem might even be bringing up the order minimum from $30 to $40. $30 has been working pretty well, and I have been a little flexible with some stuff. Somebody whose child has been dying for a cockroach, I'll be like, okay, but I reserve the right to be very, very finicky and subjective on enforcing that kind of thing, because some weeks I just don't have time. This was one of those weeks. I am on empty again, everybody. Essentially, have we missed anything important? I don't think so. Let me think, though. Anything important happened? We got more grain pests. Yeah, Alan brings up the gibium. We got some gibium. Let me look this up again. Gibium equinoctiale, the smooth spider beetle. Those just came in. Gibium to me too. What you both maybe forgot about or did not know is I have a species in culture from Las Cruces, from the infamous Aranavega fisting burrows, which the silverfish took in culture. The the spider beetles took in culture, and the Aranavega did not. So the next time I go to Arizona or to New Mexico, I gotta go back there again and fist some burrows and get some more of those Aranavega. Yeah, I know. Just laugh it up because it's as funny to you as it is to me. Uh, I mean, there were so many spider beetles and silverfish when I was there in 2022. Like that place just got hit by rain. It's very different from when Will and I went there in 2021, and it was like I was pulling the Aranavega out of the burrows, and they were like first through third instar, and they were like dead as I was finding them. Like I was not squishing them; they were just dying as they were being pulled out of the burrows because it was just so dry or something was wrong there. The conditions weren't good. And in the following year, it was pretty good for them. All the rain, things must have grown pretty fast. So, silverfish are doing phenomenal. The Tenalopisma lineatum, which I put a very large bounty out for, have produced babies, and the babies are growing. So it was a worthwhile investment for me because I've been wanting those for a while. So that's happy news. Species Israel's doing great. Longicaudatum, I moved from a poor quality, smaller enclosure. They had a couple babies, but not a lot. Moved them into a bigger one. So now I'm just waiting to see if I'm going to get a flood. What's another species? Tenalopisma ciliatum. Are all alive and well, but I haven't seen babies from those yet. I think I started that culture anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks after the lineatum, so I think any day now there's going to be babies in there. It's still waiting to coordinate the Stylifera gigantea situation, but I did move the Mirolepisma deserticola or CF Mirolepisma, which were the ones from Las Cruces. I did move those into a 5.5 gallon. I think there were only like 8 of them left. Again, they bred sparingly in the spring. I'm noticing with a lot of silverfish, they like very high air humidity, but dry everything. And they also like to be hot. A lot of them like to be hot too. Satchel says 19th through 21st is when you'll be on your trip to Dauphin Island. Dauphin. You guys told me how to say this before, and I forgot. So probably won't be able to tune in at all. That's unfortunate. Yeah, well, we'll see again. It's neck and neck up there. We've got quite a few votes though, so maybe I should probably go with the 19th or 21st Dauphin. Yeah, so we'll get the auction finalized by the end of today. I'm going to let some more people trickle in to vote. I think my vote would probably be for the 19th through the 21st. Can Harlequin roaches have cocoa fiber? Yes, I think the most important thing with Harlequin roaches was the humidity. They want to be high humidity all the time. They do not like dryness at all. Mahi Mahi Island. Mahi Mahi. Is that the most sustainable ocean fish? I was reading about these things the other day. I don't know why. What a nuts fish. What a absolute nut job of a fish. Like this is mahi mahi are like something out of like science fiction as an organism on this planet. It is just such a weird creature. Just everything about it is insane. Like the growth rate and like the sizes they can spawn at, live fast, grow fast, die fast. They are just, it's a nuts, absolutely insane. And I really wonder why we haven't, like, I know they're like, was this oceanic spawners and all this stuff, but like, can we start to like breed these for like larger size or something? Like, somebody do something with this. There's already this great genetic potential for this ridiculous organism. Like, let's take it to the next level. And they don't even look like they look like uh like like sci-fi writers, like baby's first like alien creature. It's like, all right, there's oceans on this planet, and it has these things that look like fish, but they're not really fish, but they look a lot like fish, and they got like these fins and convergent evolution, all this other stuff I read about on Wikipedia 5 minutes ago before I started writing, and blah blah blah. It's like that, but like if it was an actual organism. They're just such a weird thing. Where's Woohoo Island? The We Fit, the We Sports Resort Island, or is there an actual island called Woohoo Island? Generically engineer them with goldfish and replace tilapia. I do not like tilapia. I will have to have some good tilapia someday. Or somebody says, "Here's how you should cook tilapia." I'll listen to you and give it a try, but I don't really like tilapia. Maybe my opinions could be changed someday, but anyways, so let's see. I was talking about silverfish. Okay, so you got that, and of course the Hurricane Utah ones are doing well. No such thing as good tilapia. Yeah, what was I gonna say? Alocratelsa. Yeah, Alan, if you come across some Alocratelsa or Satchel, I would like a good group from somewhere. I'm gonna try them in this new low ventilation, high air humidity style setup thing. Some pretty Oreochromis out there. There's a stupidly endangered Lake Victoria one. I forgot the species. Oreochromis. Satchel, those are like the wood dwelling silverfish, the ones that you find in like logs or under still standing trees bark. Oh yeah, that's a pretty one. There's looks like that genus has some Esculentus. That's the guy. Oreochromis esculentus. Oh, those. Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. The introduction of the Nile perch. Not even very pretty. Oh my lord! I had no idea Nile perch got that big. I just read for years that like Nile perch were introduced, and I never I never actually looked into what Nile perch looked like. In my brain, I always pictured them looking like peacock bass. Like I never looked up Nile perch. I heard about like, oh, the introduction of like peacock bass in Florida, and for some reason my brain equated the peacock bass with the Nile perch. I never actually looked up what Nile perch look like. I had no idea that they're like a monster of a fish. It's crazy. Wow. It's nuts. That is so crazy. I gotta just. What group is this thing in? Persiformes, Latidae, Lates Perches. Okay, it's like a old world group. Okay, yeah, that's crazy, crazy. Victoria dried up like 20K years ago and then flooded again, so it was the only rift lake without a lattes species. Malawi and Tanganyika have them though. Yeah, that's nuts. That I've thought about. I was talking with Angel about this. How basically when I move, I don't really care what the house is. I don't really care about like I don't think in my head like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this in the house and this in the house and this in the blah blah blah. It's like I'm not a very materialistic person other than the business. So like I don't really care about that stuff. But the one thing I kind of want to have is a fish tank, and I'm still grappling with myself if I want it to be sort of a more minimalist, um, like an African Rift cichlid big tank with a bunch of really pretty guys in it, or if I want like a more of a densely planted, the opposite of that, the opposite of just bare rock everywhere, densely planted with like a lot of more cool stuff that is more feasible to do on a larger scale because you have more, you have so much space, you can just kind of get things breeding within the tank. I'm thinking like, maybe collect some cool amphipods from random places and freshwater shrimp and freshwater limpets and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then pick some weird, cool, smaller fish that can just do everything in the tank. 300 gallons with just one Oscar. My days of that are behind me, fortunately. LC found some roaches in Baja, Mexico. They look like Ischnoptera rufa, but I feel like it would be too dry for them. Maybe you know what they are. I would be very interested in seeing what you found. There are a bunch of Ischnoptera in Central America. It's a very speciose group there, the genus Ischnoptera. So if you have some pictures, LC, you feel free to send them my way. Geosarma, yeah, just dump a ton of, was it Vallisneria and a big sponge filter in there and have fun. Get some weird goodyids or wild live bears. Now, you see, the thing with the wild live bears is I do want to incorporate that into, I know when I move and I have the big bug building, I'm going to have a lot of extra space, at least for a couple of years. And so that's why I was looking into those, was it IVC tanks or whatever, is I want to just dump some live bearers in there and slap a light on them. And a lot of them, like I already have a group going of Amica splendens and a smaller group of Xenotoca doadrioi, which unfortunately I think I don't know if I have both sexes. I would have thought that I'd have some more babies popping up if I did, but also they really reproduced a lot better outside with just a larger volume of water and just all the phytoplankton and whatnot growth. But basically, get these big old IVC tanks, slap a powerful grow light over them, or throw them outside for the summer. Throw the fish in, forget about them, do a harvest eventually, profit, and just kind of keep doing that. I did try out some more species in the spring of last year. However, I learned a hard lesson about not using cattle troughs, metal cattle troughs for raising fish outdoors. Big no for doing that. Definitely going to go with the plastic now. So every presidential election, eat the Oscar and buy a new one. Massively overbuilt this. I'll have excess space for a decade. 2 years later, why did I build such a small building? I'm really trying to avoid that. I'm really trying to avoid that. But it's going to be, it's also like, it's going to be a gigantic financial drain when I move to all the supplies I have to get. I'm replacing all my racks, all my electrical stuff, the building itself. It's just going to be this gigantic dump of money. Fortunately, since I am a registered LLC, I can just write this off for my business for probably a couple of years as an expense. So that's helpful. But anyways, yeah. So that's something I want to do is get some of those big bins for some different live bearers going, and those can just be somewhere in the building. I don't know where. A little bit out of the way, but it also simultaneously having big things of water will also help as a heat sink to help buffer the temperature and the humidity in the building too, depending on how many I have. Really fond of a lot of the wild type X varieties. I would love to get some nice locality varieties platies. Again, this is all I got to move and have the space for some of that stuff first, but it's why I don't necessarily want to do that for a living room tank. I would look into something a little bit more quirky and something that I could really devote that space to wholeheartedly and be like, oh yeah, when these breed in here, which they will because I've gone over the top, I can make a good chunk of money on it, and also I enjoy whatever species I'm looking at too. It's got to be something worthy of being in the living room type deal. But which is why also I'm like, well, screw it. Maybe I'll just do African cichlids. So and just fully commit to this is my hobby tank. This is my display tank. I don't care what it does or doesn't do for me. So there's this one maculatus locality from Tabasco. These cool looking orange platies with big black patches. It's this guy on Aquabit out of Hawaii with a ton of varieties localities. Oh yeah, that's the life. Just live in Hawaii. Just get your big tubs of stuff outside, and they just take care of themselves. Oh yeah. Friend of mine got a group. They take a while to color up compared to the pet store stock, but the mature males are gorgeous. Yeah, again, once I get the tubs situated and figure that all out, I might even be able to ask Angela to let me put the tubs out at her place this year, even because I do want to get them outside for the summer. I was down to so few again of the Amica and the Xenotoka that I got to just get my numbers up this year. I got to do whatever I can to get my numbers back up. So, especially the Xenotoka, I talked to for a brief period of time. I need to touch base with them and tell them my catastrophic failure last summer. But it was Greg Sage. I talked to him. He's on the old Live Bearer dudes, and was telling me Doadrioi are not very easy to find anymore. And I got mine off of an eBay listing, and that eBay seller is no longer around. So it's like, all right, here we go. Better hope that there's both sexes in this group. I can't really see them because the water is just, it's green. It's pure green. Almost all my tanks downstairs are just pure green water. And the ones that aren't just have plumes of algae, or a lot of plant growth too. The one tank with the Amica has the famous hydrocotyl radunculoides in it, as well as a moss from a ditch in Alabama. And I quite like that tank. So I heard there's a really rare cichlid that lives in a volcano. The only way to get to it is to fly into it by plane. It's on Woohoo Island. Where is Woohoo Island? Seems like mostly ice and I nowadays, says Geosa Sarma. You have me thinking maybe I should try and contact that eBay seller, but let's see if I even just look up on eBay Xenotoka Doadrioi. Ice and I is the only one that's up for grabs there. Oh boy. How fun would it be if it was imperative that I succeed with this species? How fun would that be? I guess it doesn't really change things either way. If I don't have a reproducing group of them, I'm just screwed. CS says, hey, I have a colony of Halloween hissers, Elliptera javanica, that is way bigger than ideal. What do I do with them? Sell them, trade them, or feed them to something. Basically, your only options. Many people want javanica. I'm sure you could find somebody who'd like to purchase a large group from you locally or not locally. So, LC, I just sent some pics. They aren't the best. Let me know if you want more pictures. Well, they check them out. Did you send them via text or over text? Oh, yeah, I have no idea what those are. I have the slightest clue what those are. Could be a Schnoptera. I don't know. But if they're available, I know somebody who may want them. They look kind of Ischnoptera-y, but I don't know. They're all immature, and all the immature Ischnoptera kind of look the same or very similar. Mountain Dew aquariums. I kind of like the green water look, though. Eat them. You could try eating them, but you might have an allergic reaction. How many hissers have you eaten? None, because I'm very allergic to hissers. And I have it might be a generalized chitin allergy, actually. a lot of things do that to me, like rat and crested geckos will make me break out in hives or little foot things. But roaches that don't affect me, um, German roaches, American roaches, all the things that people supposedly always have allergic reactions to have no effect on me. But hissers are a big one for a lot of people. I almost wonder. Um, I've almost wondered. We've blamed fungus on their exoskeleton and all this stuff. Uh, I really, really, really wonder if maybe what's actually going on is hissers induce an allergic reaction in primates because they have adapted certain chemicals on their exoskeleton or as part of their biology to deter lemurs from eating them. And I'm wondering if this is an aha thing here, if that might be because a lot of people have hisser allergies, and very intensely so. And it just makes me wonder because reptiles and birds and fish and all kinds of other organisms can eat them without any sort of problems, but they elicit a strong allergic reaction in humans. I'm very curious if it's possible that, again, this is intentional. This is not they're just kind of, they've got these fungi we swabbed their exoskeleton, they have them, and people usually have. I wonder if there are specific compounds that hissing cockroaches have evolved to deter lemurs, lemurs are like, I don't want to sound stupid here, they're basal primates, right? I know that they're in that clade. Wet-nosed primates. Yep, they are primates. So I really wonder if, hey, you're a large, tasty, delicious bug that lives in an area where there's a bunch of primates. It's going to be very advantageous if you evolve something that causes a horrible, life-changing, memory-making reaction in one of your primary predators. That they won't want to eat you or mess with you anymore. I really wonder if that's actually what's going on. Of course, we know very little about hissers in the wild, so it's just a thought. So yeah. So anyways, that's my roach talk. Could be worth diving into the literature on sympatric lemurs. There's a hisser species in pretty much every part of Madagascar, or a hisser genus in every part of Madagascar. And again, for in places that have strong seasonality where you want lots of food, or you want to be able to, you need something nutritious during the dry season. The things that are just basically walking blobs of fat and protein probably don't want to be eaten. So it may also explain some of the bright colors on hissers too, and of course the sound effect as well is an anti-something. So we know they have multiple components of their biology centered around scaring things or stopping things from eating them, and probably lemurs are one of the big factors there. But there's not really much found about that anywhere, Yeah, that would be interesting to see if anybody's recorded different lemurs trying to eat them, or if lemurs pick them up and then are like learn very quickly not to try to eat them. So, but some people apparently don't have it. I can't remember if I developed it over time or if I've always had. I think it was pretty early on into having them. I think so. So some people are probably very strongly reactive to it. But again, I don't react to some other strong allergens, bug allergens, dermestid frass, especially from carpet beetles, from Trogoderma. Is a very well-known allergy-inducing, is a very well-known allergen, the frass from Trogoderma, and I can snort a whole container of it and not have any issues. And what's another? Again, a lot of the common household roaches that are supposedly allergenic Blatella, Blatta, Paraplaneta, I have no negative effects on me. It's very specific to hissers and sometimes to larger blabberous. Frass and dust doesn't make me break out. It's contact dermatitis for hissers, and almost exclusively during the winter time when things are very dry, but it's also when my skin is at its driest. All summer when there's high air humidity, my enclosures don't need a lot of spraying. They're staying humid naturally. I have almost no issues with stuff. Unless if I go to pick up like a very large and very defensive male hisser and I get stabbed, that will cause a localized thing. But then also interesting, another roach that does a lot of stabbing is Panchlora. Panchlora adults have very sharp leg spines. I would love to see what the microscopic structure on their leg spines is, because when they stab you, it really hurts, even though they're small. It doesn't draw blood, but it's like whoa, how did that do that? Here's this small gossamer looking cockroach, and if you grab them the wrong way and they stab you with their leg spine, you get a good prick. So who doesn't enjoy snorting insect frass? 16 to 20, favoring the later dates. All right, so we've got April 19th through 21st. I think we're gonna lock that in. I'll start getting promotional material ready for it. Gives me more time to advertise. All right, the Roach Crossing April Bugapalooza will be from April 19th to April 21st. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the Discord too. I don't have to put it in the Discord because I'm going to make promotional material for it soon. But this is here now for everybody to see. Anyways, whenever the little emoji, there we go, pin message. All right, we're going to end the poll. So unfortunately, Angel's going to be out of town, so I'm going to be on my own. So I'm going to be. You have a Discord? Yes, we do. Shoot. I need to get a link for it from somewhere. But yes, we do. It's the Roach Crossing Bugapalooza Discord. It is loosely for the auctions. There are some very devoted people who continue to talk. We have a very extremely, maybe one of the most eclectic groups of people in bug keeping on the Discord, and people are bringing up weird slime molds they found, and snake flies, and all kinds snails. Satchel's been on a Alabama snail identification. Now you can't link on YouTube chat. Let me see if I can find a link, if I can do it, because I know I can. But yes, we have a very eclectic group of people, and there are, there'll be sales every once in a while. I'll post in the auction section thing. Let's see. I'll grab a link to the Discord. How do I do that? Invite people. Okay, we need gonna make it a permanent link in case somebody stumbles across this. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. There's the link to the Discord. So again, it's a very special group of people here, and the bidding is always a lot of fun. We have some good times at the Bugapalooza, although a lot of the fun is had here at the bid channels just for bidding. Yeah. Anybody have anything they'd like to discuss, or questions they'd like to ask before we wrap things up? We're at an hour, but again, I got the expo this weekend, so I'm probably gonna, once I log off of here, I'm gonna go rest for a little bit, rest my eyeballs, and get back to ice spot husbandry. It's just the current slog. Next week it will be roach husbandry and then office husbandry. Car updates. My car should be getting dropped off next week, and from there it's in Ford's hands. Fortunately, they're going to cover the engine replacement. Unfortunately, it's going to take an unknown amount of time, and we do not know if I'm going to be getting a loaner vehicle from them during the time. So things might be getting a little freaky deaky. So Josh Suds asked about pseudoglomerus tarsalis care. If you're doing well with Magnifica, do the same with tarsalis. They seem to be just slightly easier than Magnifica. Not that Magnifica are particularly difficult, but tarsalis they will reproduce in less ideal conditions than Magnifica will. So at least you don't have to pay for it. Yes, that is the silver lining here, because I got my tax quote thing here. I don't do quarterly estimates. I do a big chunk. And it is nice to not have to worry about the engine expense with the taxes that I owe for April 15th or 16th. And I'm just now realizing that that is going to be right before the auction. Should be fine. So yes, I see I've been sent some pictures of the Ishnoptera. Can collected termite elates start a colony in captivity? Yes, many people have done that. Some species will globulate and form like a macro colony with multiple founders. Not all of them do that, though. There may be some people in the Discord who have more experience with that. I am with the termites that I keep and have collected. I usually just go to grab a bunch of workers, and they usually differentiate from me. So, all right. With that being said, thank you everybody for joining me for this Roach Wiggle. I hope your spring continues to go well. Days are getting longer, and we're about to get it's going to be light next week when we start the Roach Wiggle, because it's going to be daylight savings or daylight, whatever the opposite of savings is, or whatever. I hate it. I hate it so much. So with that, I'll see you all next week. And until then and beyond, may your cultures ever be bountiful, everybody.